How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the tactics talk for Manchester City versus Liverpool at Anfield. It was a very, very exciting game, especially in the second half where things came to life in around a 20-minute spell. We're going to break down both lineups, how a couple of the goals were scored, and what the main kind of driving force behind each team was to ultimately go out there and win the game. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new or haven't done so already. It greatly helps out the channel, as well as turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can keep up to date with any and all FPL news, from price changes to injury news and anything in between. And lastly, make sure to give us a follow over on Twitch so you can see when we go live for our preview and deadline streams, which will be next week, a week today actually, for the preview stream, and then a deadline stream as per normal on the Saturday. There'll be a pinned comment down below to let you know the exact time and date for those streams as well. So without further ado, let's talk about our partners for this FPL season with Fantasy Football Scout. So if you haven't heard about Fantasy Football Scout, they have a fantastic members area during the regular season. It's £25 for the membership, and that lasts the entire year. And during the off season, they give a 20% discount. But if you have missed that discount, fear not, you can still get the membership for £25, and it's fantastic. You can see the membership area just behind me. You have a bunch of different stats that you can use, powered by Opta stats, and create your own custom tables. You have the Rate My Team tool, you have the season ticker, player comparison tools, a whole array of things that you can use to help elevate your FPL game. So use the link down in the description below so that you can get access to these exclusive tools to help elevate your FPL game. Sign up now. Now, this is how both teams lined up. The way that it is on the pitch at the moment is how they lined up in the second half, where a lot of the action took place. And it was a very interesting battle, a very similar sort of setup stylistically. You know, you have City with their typical 4-3-3 with their false 9 in the middle. You have Liverpool often playing, you know, Firmino can play as a false 9, but they went with Jota, who's kind of more of an out-and-out kind of forward. And very similar structures, 4 at the back, 2 very dominating center backs who are both decent in the air for both sides. Very, creative left-sided fullbacks and somewhat, very kind of experienced right backs in the likes of Walker and Milner. Milner probably a little bit more so. He's kind of played in the Premier League for like 20 years or something crazy. Both Brazilian international goalkeepers that basically share time in Alisson and Ederson. One side, Liverpool, being a more functional midfield and kind of more recycling into the front three, whereas the likes of Man City had much more of a fluid system with the license of Bernardo and De Bruyne to kind of mix it up in the midfield. So you could see positions where Bernardo would potentially be like popping in and around the box here. Sometimes he'd be on the center spot and Grealish would be dropping into this space. You know, there's many different ways you can kind of slice it as to how Man City was more fluid, whereas Liverpool was pretty straightforward. You had kind of Jota mostly playing down the center, Salah playing out on this right-hand side, Mane playing on this left-hand side, with the fullbacks looking to bomb on past them and create chances. That way, with the midfield kind of blocking off avenues to the likes of Rodri and De Bruyne so that they can't break as quickly as they would like, with Matip and Van Dijk playing a extremely high line and not letting City basically get out. At least that's how it panned out in the first 10 minutes or so. Then City kind of took a stranglehold on the game. Liverpool really couldn't get possession and were often penned back in their own area, forcing the likes of Henderson and Fabinho and Jones to do a lot of chasing and play a bit flat. Milner was pinned back. He ended up getting a yellow card and it almost could have been sent off. I'll tell you why he wasn't sent off, basically. They were often penned back. Jota and Salah and Mane did have to do a decent bit of defensive work if it was in like this mid-block kind of area. But Liverpool did quite well keeping this lower blockade when City was trying to tap the ball around. It reduced the space for the likes of Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne. It frustrated Jack Grealish, as he was often found in like this kind of like triangle area where he just wasn't able to get anywhere. So he often tried to drift out to his left-hand side. Foden was heavily involved in taking on Milner quite often. Cancelo with the support. Laporte often found himself very high up the pitch. Diaz found himself centrally. Walker often found himself very high up the pitch. And Jesus occupying this side as well. So you can see how City kind of play kind of two centers of threes, and then they had their other four kind of kind of spread out a little bit, and often tried to overload this left hand side because they knew that James Milner was the weak link. So let's talk about the kind of the red card incident, because we're not going to bring that in when we're talking about a couple of the goals. Basically, James Milner, the reason he wasn't sent off was apparently Henderson fouls. I believe it's Bernardo Silva, or it's either Bernardo Silva or Foden, I think, on the touchline over here somewhere, like right in front of the managers. Were they in front of the managers? They might have been on the other side of the pitch. I think it was on the other side of the pitch, actually. And basically, that would have been Milner's second yellow. It was a clear foul, 100%. But the referee had played advantage on from the Henderson foul, which is why Milner didn't get booked, because he brought it back for the Henderson foul, and Milner kind of just reduced him and made sure that he definitely wasn't going anywhere. So by rights, Milner can't get booked because of the fact that the foul was initially for Henderson, and then once the ref found out that he basically, he wasn't going anywhere, then they called it back for that sort of play. But I guess if you can kind of punch somebody after the fact, or you push somebody, and the ball's kind of, dead, you could still get a card for it, but that's kind of a bit different in the situation. But that's the reason why he didn't get the second yellow. Otherwise, he would have been sent off 100%. And they were constantly targeting Milner in this right back position, who was subsequently swapped out for Gomez shortly after that. Firmino, just before Man City scored their opening goal, as well, he swapped on for Jota and then played more of a kind of a link man and tried to get in front of Rodri and pass the ball past him. Grealish didn't have his best of games and kind of got frustrated often, and Sterling actually played a little bit of a part in the first goal that Man City scored as well, and he came in for Jack Grealish. Grealish hasn't really played this false nine role. I think it would have probably been better if Foden would have played there, but ultimately Pep knows more than I do, and Foden actually ended up pretty much creating the second goal and scoring the first one as well. And then Sterling, you saw, was making a little bit more runs in between the center backs and whatnot, and had a decent chance here towards the latter stages of the game as well. So I thought he was pretty good and lively when he came on. But yeah, Liverpool were struggling in the first half. And that was mainly due to them just constantly, getting Foden 1v1 versus Milner. Jota and Salah, they were already... Jota, Salah, and Mane were a little bit further up the pitch, which kind of left us, 6v7, 7v7 if you want to count Cancelo. And basically it was causing a whole pile of issues, because Henderson has to kind of babysit over here, but that leaves Bernardo Silva free. When Grealish was here, he was often drifting into this space, and then you got a lot of blue and not much red. Especially, you often had to find that Salah had to kind of keep an eye on Cancelo at times, but there were some times where he did leave him, which is a criticism of some of the performances last season with Liverpool. They weren't helping out defensively when Trent was getting exposed, when they didn't have the proper center backs in there. But now it seems like they're a lot more assured with Van Dijk and Matip, and saying, yeah, we got the midfield, we got Fabinho in there, Henderson in there, we got our two center backs. Even though we have Milner in there, he can always take a yellow if he needs to or something like that, and they'll be able to kind of close this all down, which they did do, somewhat effectively. City had their chances. They had the one ball that was slipped through after Bernardo Silva made that ridiculous run. I think he started it from like around this position and ended up like here, running past like 5 different players, laid in Foden, who ended up taking a shot. This was obviously going the opposite way, and Alisson was out here and kind of closed down the angle quite well and ended up blocking the shot. So that was another interesting kind of passage of play there as well. And all things considered, after the first 10 minutes, it looked like Man City was going to stranglehold the game. But come second half, you heard Klopp on the touchline in the first half say, "Be brave, do what we've been doing before," and he must have given him a kick up the backside at halftime, because Liverpool were a completely different team. They came out of the gates all guns blazing. They were very fast into the press and into the counter press. They were looking for counterattacking opportunities when playing out through the press. It was one-touch stuff, which ultimately leads to the first goal and the opening goal of the game as well, which we'll break down. And it did sometimes also, when they were to counter press, it left slightly more gaps, which City were ultimately able to find as well, getting one of their goals. And those are the two goals that we're going to actually take a look at. We're going to look at Salah's assist to Mane's goal to make it 1-0, and then we're going to look at Foden's goal as well in more depth to make it 1-1. Just a little bit of discussion on the other two goals. De Bruyne, there was a somewhat of kind of a fake dummy by Walker after Foden plays the ball into the box. Situation where Foden's here. Walker was somewhere around this area, and De Bruyne was kind of on the box. And a little bit of a deflection takes it past Alisson. The ball ends up coming across. Like Curtis Jones goes to, I think, make the challenge. It goes through Walker, comes to De Bruyne, who hits it, and it goes in off a deflection. And then the second goal by Salah, I mean, he rinses Cancelo on the first goal, and he rinses him again on the second goal. He then makes Laporte look like he isn't even there. Pretends like he's going to cut it on his left foot. Laporte then heavily favors that side, putting a lot of his momentum that way. Salah then cuts it back on his right, and then ends up putting it off the post and in pretty much. And it was a fantastic, fantastic goal. Two good pieces of individual brilliance. De Bruyne shot and Salah's more so. Probably could be arguably goal of the season, to be honest, with that kind of individual run. And don't underestimate the pass from Curtis Jones on that as well. He plays a ball from about probably around in this position where's Salah? Salah receives the ball, but it's a quick pass with Salah having Cancelo basically right on him. Salah sees the situation, drops off a little bit, and then splits it past Cancelo, who gets left in his dust around here. Salah then breaks into the box. Laporte comes rushing across. Salah goes, cuts in on his left. Laporte heavily switches to the side. Then Salah ends up chopping it back, and then just Ederson looking to see if he can close the angle down. Salah then puts it on his right foot, which is a very difficult technique, and puts it in the far corner. So two very, very good goals. But we're going to look in more depth at the Foden goal for Man City second and the Mane goal, because I think they kind of exemplify kind of what you can do when you move the ball quickly, which both teams are very good at increasing tempo, slowing it down, and kind of controlling that to when they need to be able to fashion something. And the first goal that started the game off in the second half really was the Liverpool goal, and that it's just kind of picturesque, I guess, of what Klopp wants to do when he receives the ball and he's being pressed. This is exactly what they kind of would like. Whereas Man City, their goal is basically just one of the many chances they kind of create and just need to have a very good finish on the end of it. And they create chances like that all the time. It's just a matter of can they have finishes on the end of it. And I think City probably missed Foden a little bit because he is actually very good at finishing as well. De Bruyne also from longer range as well as close range as well can be quite good. So let's take a look at the first goal that was scored by Sadio Mane. Now this is the position set up for the first goal. So you have the ball over on this far side with Milner, and City, as you can see, have a heavy press on the ball. Foden is rushing towards Milner. Bernardo's coming in here as well. Rodri surrounding the ball. De Bruyne is kind of making his way over as well. Grealish is stopping any avenues going back towards Matip. So it's either get it past Foden and play it into Salah, and then Salah can potentially make something work, or just kind of like switch it back over to Robertson. But Jesus is still in close enough proximity whereas he could close it down, or just kind of just whack it upfield and hopefully Mane can run onto it. Which in the first half, Liverpool actually did do quite a lot, but like Klopp said after the game, he says a couple long balls, yeah, you can potentially if they're on, but most of them didn't make sense because they had their players in position like Walker, like Diaz, to kind of slow that down. So with this situation, City are they think they're in control of the situation, but it shows the power of one-touch passing. So let's get the old pencil and pen out here. So what happens? So Milner's getting pressed by Foden, plays it quickly inside to Fabinho. Fabinho then being pressed by Bernardo, and then also kind of subsequently pressed by Foden, then plays this lovely little dinked pass that goes into Salah, who drops off a little. So the ball goes one touch into Salah. Now, in this situation, Salah immediately sees I have basically a 1v1. He has the option to play inside to Henderson, who kind of stays in this position. He can play it inside to him if he would like, but he knows that he has this space here versus Cancelo. If he gets around Cancelo 1v1, which he would probably fancy himself to beat him, spoilers, he does, he has the world in front of him, basically. So how does he do that? Well, he then starts to accelerate. He makes it so that Foden and Bernardo Silva can't catch up to him. They aren't going to catch him. Henderson then peels off. Jota then goes and occupies kind of Diaz's line, and Laporte kind of favors over to him as well. And then Mane is kind of occupying the two center backs here. So these guys are locked up. So basically, if Salah gets by Cancelo, City are in trouble because it's 3v3. Salah, Jota, Mane versus Laporte, Diaz, Walker. I'm betting against the 3 Liverpool guys versus these 3 guys because Laporte can't catch up with Salah if he gets by him. Jota's quick. Mane's quick. Yeah, Walker's quick, but he can only stop one of them. So how does it unfold? Well, Cancelo immediately tries to press in, and Salah's close ball control allows him to, when he gets the ball, he's then able to kind of knock it past him. So Cancelo gets sucked in, Salah then plays the ball in and around him, and he's in the clear. And this is where things get difficult for the likes of Man City. So Laporte is dropping off. He's following Jota at this point, but Cancelo's been beat, taken out of the equation here. And Laporte then says, I have to now go cover Salah. So Salah, by the time he gets to this position, in and around this space, Laporte is starting to come across. Jota has kind of made his way across the pitch in this kind of like arced fashion, pulling the likes of Walker away from the situations because basically they don't want the pace guy coming across. The guy's got a lot of pace to come across and stop Salah. So Jota makes a run kind of in this fashion to pull Walker away. Walker does bite to the situation and kind of goes with him. Diaz is kind of going in straight and then eventually comes across when he realizes that Laporte's been taken out of the equation and Mane's got in behind. And that's when the situation kind of unravels. So what happens? Laporte comes across. Salah then kind of shifts inside. Laporte is then wrong-footed. Salah has the space. Diaz and Walker are currently in like kind of this scenario at that point. Jota's occupying Walker, and Mane is making a darting run from around this position into this space here. Salah finds a beautiful ball into Mane with the perfect weight on it. Mane doesn't need a touch. Bang! Into the bottom corner. And it's a fantastic finish, a fantastic goal. Mane was always going to get there before Diaz once he was able to see that Salah was coming inside. Great link up, something we haven't seen from Salah and Mane specifically over the last, I would say, probably 18 months. Probably 2 years ago, you could say that they were linking up quite nicely, but then there was kind of all that like spat, and then they kind of, kind of went off the boil a little bit there. But a great link up goal. And it was good off the ball run for Jota occupying Walker, because if Jota just kind of runs with them as well and kind of runs with Diaz, Walker might have enough pace to come from this position and come over and stop Mane. But since Jota makes the run here, and Jota also is, if as Salah cuts in field, I'm just gonna put them back in their positions. This is kind of the options that Salah has. Walker was around this space here. Salah could easily play a ball potentially into this space for Jota to go into. And if the ball's right, Ederson's not getting near it. If he does come out, he's probably getting chipped, or he's getting it laid under him and it's going in the back of the net as well. So there was a couple of options. And once Mane gets goal side of Diaz, it's just curtains from there. So a brilliantly worked goal by Liverpool, but it shows you the amount that you can do with quick one-touch play. You want 1 to 2 touch, 2-touch maximum when playing out from the back, and you want 1 to 2 touch when you're playing intricate stuff through like this section when teams are playing a low block, or you're trying to do stuff on the corners of the 18, like kind of 1 touch, 2 touch to kind of make a shot or fashion a shot as well. And it was literally one touch from Milner, inside to Fabinho, inside to Salah, one touch move to get past Cancelo, couple of touches to play himself into space, pass into Mane, 1 touch finish. Beautiful stuff. Probably in the span of 4 seconds, they go from 30 yards, of 30 to 35 yards out from their own goal to Mane slotting it in the back in the 5 to 10 seconds, something like that. Very, very quick play, and it's something that I would wish United would do. And I'm very envious of these two, as they are kind of the marquee fixture, I would say, for the season in terms of excitement, because both managers really like to go for it. You know what you're going to get from Klopp. You know what you're going to get from Pep Guardiola. And speaking of Pep Guardiola, let's see how Man City were able to fashion their first goal of the game to make it 1-1 with Phil Foden. Now, this is one of those situations where Pep Guardiola would have applauded, and they probably would have worked on something like this in training. It's a very quick tempo play. So when we talked about earlier about increasing the tempo, slowing down the tempo, and then increasing it back up again to kind of give your opponents false hope, this is one of those situations where they receive the ball and it's quick tempo because you don't let Liverpool set. Now, it's a transitional period where Liverpool are slowly coming back in their back four shape here. You can see, you know, they got their back four set in a line here. You know, it's all fine. They got their midfield kind of structure coming across, but they're still behind the play. So Walker and Jesus, the two threats here, are goal side. Mane, Firmino, and Salah were pressing upfield, and the ball has transitioned, I think, from De Bruyne or Diaz, something like that, and went into Walker, basically. And this is where it kind of all starts. Walker knocks it off to Jesus, who then continues his run, distracts the likes of Robertson, and gives Jesus enough time to make this run in here. And what does this run do? Well, Van Dijk's dropping because he knows that Walker could make a run through here. Matip is dropping because Sterling is looking to potentially make runs in between him and Van Dijk, or him and Milner. Milner's kind of coming across because he sees that potentially Sterling could be a bit of an issue. Bernardo ends up arriving later on as well. And Foden is looking and eyeing up this position here in behind Milner, if he can get there, or in a situation where he could potentially fashion something for himself or able to get a shot off. So what happens? Walker lays the ball off to Jesus. Jesus then accelerates with the ball, dribbles past Robertson, who can't take down Jesus because basically he'll just get booked. Jones doesn't come across in time, and Fabinho gets basically taken out of the equation because Jesus is just too quick. Van Dijk has now dropped off to his position. Same with Matip. Sterling's in and around here, and Milner's kind of come across. Henderson's dropped back, and Bernardo Silva is coming into the fray as well, and potentially looking for a pass that kind of finds here, and then it could be the pass and the Bernardo pass into Foden, and then a chance for a low cross. But Jesus takes it one step quicker, which allows them to ultimately get the shot on goal and the goal for Phil Foden. Van Dijk and Matip are looking at Sterling. Sterling then goes towards Matip, makes a run and looks to see if he can get something in behind in here. Jesus continues to run with the ball. At this point, these three have been taken out of the game for Walker, pretty much, which is a trade in terms of if you were looking at player for player, you would definitely take. And then Jesus continues to drive with the ball, so kind of looking to play Sterling and potentially with his left with a through ball that would go somewhere in this area here. And then Van Dijk realizes, we have a situation where Foden's out there by himself, because Milner's come straight across because he sees Jesus is just going to, he keeps dribbling, and I'm going to come across. And Matip could probably hold Jesus to where he is, but if Jesus kind of turns on the burners, can Matip kind of handle him? Maybe, maybe not. Milner kind of gets sucked in and kind of gets caught ball watching, and then what happens is Jesus then shifts the ball and plays it into this area here, where Foden ends up having an attempt on goal where he is able to have a very narrow margin to score from. It's basically hit it hard and hit it in this part of the goal, so just inside the post or off the post, or Alisson probably saves it, unless you literally lift it and it goes into the top corner. But basically, you're kind of looking at that much of the goal. So you're looking at less than 20% of the goal, probably 10% of the goal that you could potentially aim at, whether it be high or low. And high, it's going to be a little bit difficult because Alisson can still save it based on the trajectory of the ball without it screaming over the bar. And Phil Foden wraps his foot around it, gets a clean strike, and it literally goes in and off the inside of the post. A fantastic strike, sends it past Alisson, bounces off in the post, and goes in the back of the net. And that was shortly after Liverpool had made a substitution for Firmino for Jota. Milner was, I believe, already on a yellow card at this point as well, so he couldn't, like, you know, get a little bit more physical, because one, he could potentially give away a penalty, and two, he could get sent off as well, which, as we know, there was a whole drama around that as well, for obvious reasons. And again, great strike by Phil Foden, who I thought was, apart from Mo Salah, probably I'd say he would be the man of the match for City, for sure, undoubtedly. And I think they really missed him. I think he could play centrally in the midfield three. I think out on the left he's dangerous, out on the right he's dangerous. I remember the goal that he scored where he just smashed it, like, into the roof of the net over Alisson. Like, it just went straight, like, through. Like, Alisson, like, stuck his hands up like this, and it just went blasting straight through his hands from, like, when he received it in, like, this position, which you can't see in this position here, and he was able to just kind of just run in. You can see him now, and then just kind of shoot from around here. If I move my head out of the way, and he just was able to just shoot straight past Alisson when I think they won like 4-0 or something, whenever it was 4-0, 4-1, whatever it was. So yeah, it was a great goal in that situation and in this one as well. And then you had the brilliant Mo Salah goal, and then De Bruyne equalizes, and then lastly, the block by Rodri. I mean, Fabinho, he does everything right except score, basically. And Rodri covers a good bit of ground in a very short time. And if he's even half a second late, I mean, Fabinho has a tap in, literally. So yeah, a very, very exciting game. Two of the premier teams in the division. I think that Man City is definitely going to show us some exciting football this season, with increases and decreases in tempo when they're playing. Liverpool with their gung-ho, kind of all-out attack, counter-press, just all guns blazing type of football. It's also going to be entertaining now that they have their full-strength team back as well. And it's going to be real interesting to see what happens when these two meet at the Etihad later on in this season. But that's going to do it for the tactics talk. Let me know in the comments down below what was the most exciting part of the game for you, and what you're looking forward to in the next coming game week for our Game Week 8 tactics talk. And that's going to do it for the tactics talk between Liverpool and Manchester City. If you haven't done so already, and you are enjoying the videos, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new or haven't done so already. It greatly helps out the channel. And turn those notification bells on so you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can keep up to date with any and all FPL news, from price changes to injury news and anything in between. As well as give us a follow over on Twitch so you can join us live for our preview and deadline streams, which we will be starting back up next week when the games resume, as we have Game Week 8 starting next week, Monday, where the preview stream will be at 7 p.m. EDT, and the deadline stream will be 1 hour on the Saturday before the FPL deadline. There will also be a pinned comment down below to give you the exact details on that as well. And lastly, make sure to use the link in the description below so that you can get your Fantasy Football Scout membership. You can get a discount during the preseason, but it's not too late. You can still get your membership for a regular price still, and you still get all the same great content with stuff like the Opta data-driven stats tables, as well as other different tools like the Rate My Team tool, the Season Ticker, and much, much more. It's going to help elevate your FPL game. Thank you all for watching, and until the next one, take care.